Hello Flosstube, I'm Sarah. You are welcome to Sew Me Sarah, my channel all about cross stitch and sometimes some other needle arts too. Today is Wednesday the 31st of August 2022 and I'm very happy to have you join me today for a little more stitchy chat. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. The subscriber numbers are still creeping up a little at a time each week, so there are some new folks out there listening and I really appreciate you spending some time with me. I'm sorry about the outside noise today. It is stifling up here in the bedroom and I have the window open, so hopefully we won't have too much traffic passing by. You can see that I'm still not in the teacups land, still in the bedroom, just trying to find a little gap in the crazy house to record and share a little bit of my stitching with you. So it's been a couple of weeks, not too long this time, and I just wanted to grab a quick opportunity to share with you a little bit about what I've been stitching and who I've been watching and what my plans are for September, because can you believe that it's September already tomorrow? I am, however, not listening to the negative voices that are telling me that the year is almost up. September is the beginning of the final third of the year, so there is a whole third of the year left, and I am holding on to that positive thought and not giving in to the belief that, you know, it's going to be January the 1st tomorrow. So we still have 4 months left, so those of us who have plenty of stitching plans have still a good 4 months to get things done before the end of this year. Since last time, I wanted to say a huge thank you to you all for your response to the Q&A about stitchy issues. So it was great to have all your questions and to be able to answer them. I hope that you got the answers that you needed, even if they weren't what you wanted, but I hope that I answered your questions. And as I said on the last video, please do feel free to ask questions at any time. If I can answer them just in the course of my normal videos, I will, or I will answer just in the comments as well. Since last time, school is back, which is great. Yesterday was the first full day of school. We had 2 little half days last week, and yesterday was the first full day of school. Monday here in the UK was a bank holiday, so there was no school. So the ins and outs of going in for 2 half days and then off on holiday again on Monday, and then all of that is quite unsettling and disturbing to Charlotte, but hopefully we'll get her settled well this week as she's back to normal full days. I can see the light changing rapidly just as the clouds go by the window, so I'm hoping that you'll be able to see the colours and things in what stitching I show in a little bit. So yes, school is back and it would be lovely to be able to share with you a photograph of Charlotte already for her P3 year, her primary 3 year, but the minx won't stand still long enough in her uniform for me to get a picture, so you'll just have to imagine that she looked lovely in her red gingham dress and her red sweatshirt and her cheeky smile. And she's had a haircut, but like I said, I can't get her to stand still long enough. Maybe there are photographs in the next section that I'll be able to share with her haircut in as well. So yes, the photographs of which I speak are of our day out at Mount Stuart House and Gardens. Mount Stuart House is on the Ards Peninsula here in Northern Ireland, and I'm just sharing this with you because I know that many of you love to see pictures and photographs of where we live. And Mount Stuart House is owned by the National Trust here in Northern Ireland. Now, the National Trust is a UK-wide organisation and they preserve and conserve and protect and care for coastlines and stately homes and gardens and areas of specific natural beauty and interest that have been donated to them for preservation for future generations. So Mount Stuart House is one of those here. As I said, it's on the Ards Peninsula in Northern Ireland, and it is one of my other favourite places to go and to be. We did used to live at the top of the Ards Peninsula, so when before we were married, and it was just, I just find it such a tranquil, relaxing place to be. And I have a few photographs for you. So I have some photographs of the house itself, just one side. It is a neoclassical architecture house. It originally, the house was a lot smaller, and then it was extended by families who, so the Stuart family came from Scotland to Ulster during the plantation of Ulster. In fact, I think they went to Donegal, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, the Stuart family bought this land, and there was a smaller house on it, a more modest house on it, and over time they, sorry, I'm shaking the table, over time they added to the house, and eventually, you know, a grand west wing was built and whatever. So the Stuart family were quite politically influential, and the son of the first Stuarts rose to become the Marquess of Londonderry. So he was a big landowner in Ulster and Northern Ireland at the time, and then his family after him continued in politics, and, you know, maybe not always popular politics, but they were certainly an influential family. The house is now in the care of the National Trust, and it is a stately home that you can visit. You can actually have a tour of the house, or parts of the house, because some of the family still live in private apartments in the house. But you can have a tour of the house, and there are beautiful formal gardens, a gorgeous sunken garden, and there's a domain, a parkland really, and a lake that you can walk around. Unfortunately, Charlotte's patience wasn't up to a walk in the formal gardens, so we tried to tire her out by walking around the lake first in the hope that we could then spend a little bit of time in the formal gardens, because that's where I would really like to have taken some more pictures to show you. But I'll be able, well, hopefully next time I go, I'll be able to get there and take some pictures of those gardens to share with you. The National Trust run various events at the properties throughout the year, but one of the things that they do in the summertime, which is really nice, is to host jazz afternoons in the sunken gardens, and that's really nice. People go along and take their picnics and listen to the jazz music that is put on, and it's a very civilized way to spend an afternoon. We did that in a previous life, as in pre-Charlotte, and it was very enjoyable. But as I said, we haven't been for a long time, but it is one of the treats that is there on offer at Mount Stuart. So as I said, maybe next time I'll have some pictures of the gardens. Sorry, we have a helicopter going by right now. We did get a nice walk around the lake and a little bit of adventure play with Charlotte, and there, I hope that you enjoy the photos of that. So one of the other things I have been trying to do in the last couple of weeks is a catch up on floss tubes, which I haven't actually managed to do at all because there's so many. But I've also been watching some new or new to me floss tubers, some on recommendation of others and some that I've just found. I don't know about you, but my feed seems to every day have a new floss tube. So every day there's a floss tube #1 video popping up by someone else. So it's great, the community is expanding. I don't know how I would ever manage to keep up with everybody, but I'm having a peek at a few to see as they pop up, or as I'm able to. As I said, it is getting harder to keep up with all of the floss tubes, so I know the demands on your time of Flosstube, and therefore appreciate that you choose to spend a little bit of your time with me today. So sharing the love of these other channels, just in case you might be interested, might be looking for someone new or new to you to go and visit. I have a few here. I think I have 6 folks to share with you. First is Charly at Charly Feathers. Her channel is called Charly Feathers. Charly is lovely, she's softly spoken, she's a big Barbara Anna fan. Her and Yasmin are in collaboration over Barbara Anna and enjoying their stitches very much. Charly is a very artistic person, and I can see that coming to play in her finishing and in the work that she's doing. So it's interesting, it's interesting to have another person's take on things. I would like to watch more. Charly is not a new Flosstuber, she is new to me, so she has been recording for a while, and there's quite a bit for you to catch up on, but that would, you know, be an interesting weekend viewing if you go and watch her and decide that you like her. So you could pop over and say hello to Charly. Nancy and Cathy have started a new Flosstube called So and So's. Now, I believe that Nancy has previously been on Flosstube, but I'm really sorry, I can't remember the name of her channel. So Nancy had her own channel, but now she has joined and is collaborating with Cathy Lounsbury, and they have a channel of their own. And I watched their first episode, so they are new. I watched their first episode and loved it, subscribed, and will hopefully be able to catch up when they next post. They may even have posted already. I have a very long list of new videos to watch. Cathy and Nancy are beautiful stitchers. You will enjoy their projects, I'm quite sure. You might recognize Cathy's name from the model stitching credit on Teresa Kogut patterns, because Cathy will model stitch quite a bit for Teresa Kogut. Her stitches are that beautiful, yes. So it was lovely because Cathy has been commenting on my Instagram and comments here on the channel, and it was lovely to actually hear her voice. So that was, it's nice, you know, you can put a face to a name, and now you can put a voice to a face, and that's a lovely thing to be able to do too. So good luck with the channel, Nancy and Cathy. I enjoyed your first episode. Grace at the Paisley Stitcher is a new channel. I think she might have 2 videos out, a second one out that I haven't watched. I really enjoyed her first video, and I will be back to watch more. Grace stitches huge samplers on big frames and her stitching is just gorgeous, and she was a pleasure to listen to, so I think that lots of you will enjoy Grace too. Sarah Memphis E, that is the name of her channel, is new to me but not new to Flosstube at all. I have heard Sarah's name mentioned reverently by a number of Flosstubers for a long time now, and always meant to go over and check the channel but kept forgetting to. So I finally did, and I really enjoyed her latest. I didn't start back at number 1. I just watched her latest one and I really enjoyed it, so I would like to keep up with Sarah as well. Vicky recommended the Loose Thread Stitchers, who now actually have 8 episodes, and they are Leanne and Jeannie, so another pair. I like pairs of Flosstubers. They kind of, you know, feed off one another, and it's always good crack, as we say here in Northern Ireland. It's always good fun and a bit of banter, and that shared, it's a shared experience and a shared conversation, you know, unlike my lonely little self here. But anyway, Leanne and Jeannie, you may enjoy them. I did. They were fun to watch, and it was mesmerizing because there are turtles swimming gently in the background. I'm not sure of all of their videos. I think I've only watched one, but I think they said they were going to record in in alternate locations in each other's homes. So I have maybe only watched the ones in one of the homes, and the turtles are swimming. So it's nice and relaxing to see, and obviously to see their beautiful stitches as well. And the last recommendation I have for you was a recommendation to me by Pauline of Stitching Fae. Now, Stitching Fae is Heidi, and Heidi lives in California but is originally from the Czech Republic. Heidi has stunning stitching, very varied in her in the styles that she stitches. huge variety of projects, and as Pauline said to me, you'll see things on her channel that you may never have seen before. So sometimes it's nice to see things, you know, that aren't always all the same as everyone else's. Of course, we all love to see that everyone is stitching what we stitch too. So, but the variety is really lovely. So Heidi is another one I would like to be able to watch more of and keep up with. She has, I think she's relatively new, but she probably has several videos out by now. I've just been really slow to actually get round to watching. So those are the 6 recommendations for you for new or new to me floss tubers. I will put all of the floss tube names down below so that if you're looking for them, you can go over and say hi. You can tell them that you heard about them here. So it's time for the stitching. Phew, you say, let's get on with it, Sarah. So I do have a finish. I was very close last time to finishing the Modern Folk Embroidery Fractal Love Sampler. Now you know that I'm only stitching the top half, and I am stitching that on the Funfair fabric. This is fabric that was gifted to me by Terry, and we had a discussion about fabrics like this, as in very unique or differently coloured fabrics. We had a discussion about such fabrics, about thread choices for them, about design choices for them, and we had those discussions in my earlier episodes, so you could go back and see that if you haven't already, just if you're interested. And in the end, you know that I chose this pattern, and I chose DMC 3777. Yeah, enough sevens. Which is, I think, officially called Dark Terracotta, or one version of Terracotta. I don't know if you can see the colour really well here, but it is a deep dark red, almost brownish red. And I absolutely love how this finished. Now, one of the really interesting things that has happened as I stitched the very last part, because I was almost finished last time. I think I really only had these bottom areas to complete, maybe a little bit over one of the sides anyway. But look what has happened here. It's like my stitching has just coincidentally outlined this very, very pale piece of fabric. And it almost looks like that piece of fabric hasn't been dyed. But, you know, that's what happens with randomly modelled fabric. So anyway, I'm absolutely delighted with this finish. I am so thrilled that this was a project that you all shared, sort of walked along with me over. We chatted in the comments about thread choices, about fabric, about the designs, in particular the monochromatic designs, and it was fun pulling, it was hard work, but it was fun pulling all of the monochromatic design options together to present to you back in those earlier in the earlier videos, and it was lovely just to be able to do this. I'm glad I didn't go with too big a pattern, just so that I could actually have a finish and have something that didn't take 4 years to complete, and that, you know, is part of is kind of the end of the journey that we started together. So thank you all for your input, your comments, your support and your encouragement as I went along with this. Obviously I have to fully finish it, and I don't know how I'm going to do that just yet. It will be fairly simple. If I can get a frame and do it myself, that's probably what I will do, or maybe a board to mount it on. I think you'll see that I have some fold lines which leave about ½ inch of this fabric, and I think that's probably what I will do. I won't take the border, the frame ring right up to the edge, which I might more with a plain fabric, but this fabric I think deserves to have a little bit still on show. So I have loved this. Thank you, Terry. Thank you to all of you, and I hope that next time you see it, it will actually be a fully finished object. I was able to put a few stitches into Oh Holy Night Advent Calendar. It is a dimensions kit that I have from 2006. So I purchased it in 2006. It could well be older, probably is older than that. Oh well, it says 2005 here, so yeah. Anyway, I purchased this in 2006, so it is my oldest WIP. I showed you last time that I'd got all of the little ornaments on the plastic canvas completed, and I had the grid and all the numbers on here and the Oh Holy Night. So when I picked it up this time, I am starting on the stable seam at the top, and there's quite a lot of stitching in this, but hopefully you can see how the shading is. This is a sandal, and this is the little kneeling body. So let me see if I can show you here, this little person here. It's going to be very cute, it really is. And I enjoyed the stitch. I enjoyed actually stitching on slightly bigger fabric. This is a 14 count, I think. Yes, it's a 14 count ivory Ada, and it's nice actually to stitch on the bigger count. So I like a bit of everything. So I love teeny tiny, I love fine and delicate, but I'm learning that I also love the bigger things too. I think that possibly comes from stitching so many projects at once. It is nice to switch between. I'm not doing anything terribly fine, not like 46 count or anything like that, but it is nice to switch between projects, maybe move away from the 32 count linen and into a 14 count Ada when you're more tired at night or something like that, and it's a little bit easier to see. So I'm enjoying the variety that allows that opportunity. My apologies, I'm kind of looking down all the time, and I don't mean to be. I feel really, it's just not as well organised as when I do it in the kitchen with the teacups. So sorry. Next up, I was able to put a few evenings into house number 2 from Glitter Village. I'm stitching this on the called for, which is 32 count raw silver linen by Zweigart, and I'm using the called for flosses. I think I should fess up that I don't always stitch the variegated flosses correctly, I think, because by that I mean stitching them one stitch at a time. And I did for the blue, I did pretty much for all of this first house. On this one I have not so much, so I didn't stitch one stitch at a time on this sort of brownish colour that outlines the windows and the chimneys. I am stitching correctly to achieve the variegation in the pink of the house and the blue of the door. But honestly, for the small areas of the trees and those window frames, I didn't. And I've also given up stitching single stitches on the white snow because I don't see the variegation particularly. I don't think this is a very variegated thread that I have anyway, and it's just quicker not to. So yes, I've been taking some shortcuts and stitching along the row in one way and back, you know, at times, but I would like to keep the variegation in the bigger areas, so mainly in the house itself, and I'm being a good girl and doing it properly there. So I did get a reasonable amount of the house outline and a little bit of the fill-in started, and most of the snowflakes and the snow in the gate itself. There are 2 trees, one either side of the house, that need to go on as well, and a little bit of greenery at the very bottom. So there's still a bit of work to do. I have resigned myself to the fact that Glitter Village won't be ready this Christmas. It's going to take me some time. I do love it and it will be worth it, and it doesn't matter if it's going to take next year or the year after. Just one house at a time. Let's see how I go. So I'm happy that I got a little bit more progress in on Glitter Village. Next is Hive Rules by Primrose Cottage Stitches. I am stitching this on 25 count vintage sand Lugana, which 2/2, which of course makes it a 12.5 count finish. So it's pretty big, and I love it. I love that I am, I'll just hold that behind it to help. I love, as I said, sometimes when I'm very tired, just picking up pieces where the stitching is a bit bigger. So, and that's really helpful. There is a mistake in this, but I just made it work, and I made the mistake a second time to make it work. So I am probably just over halfway down this chart. It is a very long design. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 different sort of sayings on it, and this one that I'm working in at the moment is number 4. So I have the first 3 complete, and I'll try to see if I can release it a little bit to share with you the rest. So there we go. Hive Rules. Be sweet like honey, mind your own beeswax. And the next one will say, always be humble and kind. So beautiful design, lovely chart. Highly recommend if you enjoy stitching these things. It would also be beautiful stitched on something smaller, which would help you when it comes to framing, because this is going to be huge. And when it's finished, it is 70 stitches wide by 274 long. So yeah, it's gonna be a big one. I spent some time on the Alice in Wonderland pattern by Oil Forest Embroidery the last couple of weeks. This is a really nice pattern. It is. It was a free stitch along, maybe in 2021, and the pattern is still available for free as far as I know from Oil Forest Embroidery. And it was a pattern that was released in parts, so when you download the pattern it's still in parts, which is quite nice actually, because you can just use the parts yourself to pace your stitching if you want. And I am doing this as a little sal with a friend, a very informal, she's stitching it, I'm stitching it, and we're just sharing our progress. It looks a little bit wonky. I think I just need to straighten it. I think I'm pulling the linen, but this fabric, you get a good view of the colour of it on the back actually as it fell over. This fabric is 32 count linen, and it's aqua, just Zweigart aqua. It blows out in photographs all the time, but it is actually quite blue. And it's beautiful, really, really beautiful. I think it works really well with the colours on this pattern. So I started in the centre, which I don't normally do now, but this one is big and my margins are tight. So I decided I would start in the centre just to be sure. So I started in the centre with the Queen of Hearts, which I believe might have been the last release on the sal actually. So I'm just trying to make sure it doesn't fall again. This was maybe one part, and then this and this was another part. Or maybe that, anyway, this whole section was 2 parts. And then this is a 3rd part. Sorry. Try to hold it on the top so it doesn't fall off again. Normally it does stick to my board, but this piece is just too big and heavy. So I'm stitching down here. You can see he's only got a couple of hearts in on his chest. So these are the playing cards, and they are guarding the gate. And this is the Cheshire Cat, just his head as it appears. He's got spooky looking. I'm enjoying the threads that I'm using for this. I am using the Silky 12 weights, which I'll show you. So I did a conversion of my own to the Silky 12 weight cottons, and if I was organised I'd have these out, but since I'm not in my normal space I'm not as organised as I'd like to be. So here are just a few of those. Silky 12 weights come in, oops. The Silky 12 weight floss is beautiful to work with, and you only need to use one strand of it. So it comes off the spool in a single strand, there's no separating strands. They say that this strand is equivalent approximately to 1.5 to 2 times DMC. So if you use a double strand of DMC, this is about the equivalent of that. It gives really beautiful coverage. It stitches so nicely and it's good value. In the UK, if you are interested, you can order Silky from silky.com or the UK site of silky.com. There should be an arrow or something, I can't remember, but you know, choose your country. And this small, the regular spool is about 90p, and I can't remember the price of the bigger one, but it's, you know, equally good value. Not all of the colours come in the, I think they call this a king spool. Not all of the colours come in a king spool, but if, you know, obviously they're more popular ones do. These ones are, these are 3 variegateds, which they call blendables. Sorry, I'm covering my mouth. Their variegateds are called blendables, and they do have a range of solid coloured threads as well. I am using some of those in this design. And I just thought I would show you that I am keeping this one in one of the Fat Quarter Shop's Mad for Plaid bags, and it's really nice with the gusset because of the spools of thread. So we're not using flosses and thread cards, we're not using flat rings, and you know, we've got lots of spools. So I thought some of you who maybe also use the anchor spools, those of you in the US who have access to those, or maybe other places do too, but I've never seen them here. If you're using the spools, then it is harder when you've got a collection of spools in an ordinary flat project bag, but these Mad for Plaid ones work really nicely, and I'll show you my messy bag. But, so maybe you can see inside there, it holds tons. So, and this bag sits up by itself, so it's really nice and sturdy. They are a little pricey, these Mad for Plaid bags, but I guess keep an eye on Fat Quarter Shop, those of you who are able to order from there where the postage is, you know, is possible. Maybe keep an eye to any discounts or sales that Fat Quarter Shop have on if you don't like the price of it. In the UK, I was able to get this from So Hot UK. Okay. So that is Alice in Wonderland by Oil Forest Embroidery. And that is all of my work on my whips. But I do have 2 new starts to show you. I know I said I was going to have 1, but I have 2. So, you know, when you go looking for something and you're genuinely going to get that thing and you find something else and you think, oh, I'll have a wee go at that. So as I was pulling out the bits and bobs for the start that I had planned, I found this little Mill Hill kit, which is called Fall Fun, from their Autumn Harvest collection. It says pumpkin patch, apple picking and corn maze. It's little arrows. I really like this, and I bought this a while ago, and obviously with the intention of stitching it for autumn, and I thought, well, it's probably the right time to have a go. That was my excuse anyway. So on 14 count perforated paper, that is my meagre start. Let me see if I can hold, there we go, hold the pattern up behind it. I have one of the arrows in, and there are a few beads, I think, so I would just like this to be a little ornament for my fall decorations or autumn decorations, of which I have only a few. So we'll see how much further I get. The kit comes with a little pumpkin charm, if you can see that, and beads and a magnet. I think it's meant to be made into a magnet, so I'm not sure that I will make it into a magnet, but we'll see. So that is the beginning of that new start. What I will say about this little kit is that I don't think the threads were correct, and I could be wrong, but I don't think they were correct. I think there was, I seem to have a lot of extra greens, and I was missing some other, like paler yellowy, pale yellow creamy shades. So I've been through the threads and tried to match them with ones from my stash. I really do think there's been a little error in the kit, so which is really unusual, I believe. I'm not very experienced with the Mill Hill kits, but I don't think it's usual that there's an error in the threads, but it's not a big deal. I mean, you know, you can just choose something similar, but I seem to have a lot of medium and pale greens, more than would be listed on the key. Anyway, I'll make it work. My second start, which is a little bit more legitimate because I had planned it and told you, is No Act of Kindness by Emma Congdon from her book Cross Stitch for the Soul. It doesn't actually have a name as a pattern, but I'll just call it No Act of Kindness. So I wanted to start this one and hope to make it a birthday gift for the end of the year. And here's my progress. I got all of the wording in, which is great. And it was really, really therapeutic stitching. It was lovely stitching to be able to do. I think the colours are beautiful. I'm stitching this on a 28 count Brittany Lugana in antique white, and I'm using the call for DMCs from the pattern. So I'll show you the pattern. There's like lots of doodads now to add, little flowers and vines and stems, and so I did make a copy just from my book, just for the ease of keeping it in the project bag and showing it to you rather than having to find the book every time. So there's butterflies and flowers and little doodads and things, so I'm hoping it won't take terribly much longer to finish, but sometimes those little doodads do actually take you longer than a big block of stitching, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm really thrilled that I got this far in the time that I already worked on it. So you can see that it's still in its frame because I've been working in it. So this is a Nerd frame that I'm susceptible to the marketing and everybody else's rave reviews. I thought I would give it a go. This is the biggest size that they do. It's a number 4. So it's 280 millimeters by 250. It's a good size for this piece. And I like the Nerd frame. It holds well. I don't know that it's as tight as some people would like it to be, or maybe that's just me, but you know, if I'm using a wooden hoop, I can pull my fabric on both sides and pull it, and it'll move, it will stretch in and then tighten up. Well, I don't feel that this moves just quite as much. Maybe I'm just too nervous of pulling too hard, but so it's a little bit looser. Now, if you like to stitch in a frame and like the sewing method, this I think would be quite good, because you need that little bit of flex in your fabric for the sewing method. If you have a drum tight fabric in a hoop, the sewing method is almost, well, I find it almost impossible, but I think you could do it with this Nerd hoop. The hoop is nice and light. I do like holding it. I do actually like the shape of it, because you haven't got it, you know, it's not chopping off half of my pattern because it's a circle, and I shouldn't have any circular hoop marks. But I don't tend to keep anything in a hoop or in a, obviously they stay on a scroll frame because they can, there's no no damage to them then, but I don't normally keep them in a hoop or in a frame when I'm not working on them, so I was working on this, which is why it's still in there. Anyway, you know, certainly if you like stitching in hoops frames, I think the Nurge is quite good, and they're not overly expensive, so you could maybe try one of the sizes and see what you think. Anyway, that is no act of kindness. I'm very happy with that start, happy with the colours, and looking forward to finishing off all those doodads at some point. Okay, that is it for all of my stitching for the last couple of weeks. I think I've done quite well, actually, all things considered, and I enjoyed all of those projects. It's really lovely to be stitching on things that I love. It's not very often I stitch on something I'm not enjoying. Sometimes we love, you know, really love the pattern that we see, but the actual stitch is hard work, or it's just, you know, for whatever reason it feels jinxed and we don't get on well with it. But at the moment, fingers crossed, they're all going really nicely and I've been enjoying all of them. So it is hard to believe that it is September tomorrow. And yes, I have plans for September. So I showed you in the Q&A this journal diary that I have. So you can see I have been planning out all of my stitching for September. So this is my optimistic appraisal that I will be able to stitch at least 10 stitches, let's say, every day, except the 6th. And so I didn't put anything in there because I already know it's an impossible day. And then I just hope for the best on the rest of the days. Up here I have written that I would like to make Gather Here my daily thread. So daily thread for me is like, some people do 24/7, or red thread a day, or red thread before bed. So it's just a daily small amount of stitching to make continual progress. So I have explained before, but in case you're new and haven't seen this on my channel, for my daily thread project, I'll usually choose one in the month. And so on the 1st of September, tomorrow, before I stitch Things Unseen, which you haven't heard and I'll tell you about in a minute, but before I stitch this, I will pick up Gather Here. I will take one thread length and I will stitch that into Gather Here, and that's my daily thread done. So if I can stitch on the day, then before I stitch what I've planned to stitch, I stitch one thread into my daily thread project. That does make some really great progress at times. It made great progress with the Fracture Love Sampler, and I have let it slip. I haven't been as faithful about it over the spring and summer, but when I can, when I have been able to do it, it does make small but consistent progress, and that build up really does work. So that is the idea. If you hear me talking about my daily thread, that's what it means. So my daily thread is going to be Gather Here. That is a Hello from Liz Matthews pattern, which I started quite some time ago and haven't touched for quite a while. So I'd like to see it out and moved on at least a little bit. I also, in there really are plans for work on the whips, most of which you've seen today. So there's Oh Holy Night, Fall Fun, which is the Mill Hill kit, Alice in Wonderland, what else is there? Glitter Village, No Act of Kindness. And then in here I have Things Unseen. So I have given hopefully 8 stitchy days. Now it's not days, it's maybe an hour and a half in the evening, but 8 stitchy days to Things Unseen, which is a sampler that I plan to use to be able to participate in Sampler September. So it is a pattern by Lizzie Kate. It was a mystery sampler that was released in 3 parts. Part 3 is the only one that shows you the whole sampler on the photograph, but if you wanted to stitch this, you need to buy all 3 parts because part 3 only contains the 3rd part of the pattern. So it was released in 3 parts. It's still sold in 3 parts. You cannot buy it as a single chart. So just to warn you, because I see on some of the comments on, it's available on 1, 2, 3 Stitch. I see some of the comments there, people are disappointed because they bought part 3 because it shows the whole picture, but the whole pattern is not there. So you need to buy parts 1, 2 and 3. I think there may also be a kit with the charms. I don't think they're in here. Just check. No, they're not. So I think there's a separate little kit with the buttons, but I didn't purchase those. Not yet anyway. I don't know if I will, but we'll see. Anyway, Lizzie Kate Mystery Sampler Things Unseen. And this quote is by Helen Keller. And I have loved a Helen Keller story from I was a little girl, and actually meant to bring up and show you my Helen Keller book from when I was Charlotte's age in P3. And I ordered a little book about Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan from the Scholastic Book Club, which is still going actually, because Charlotte gets some of the little leaflets home from school and we're able to order from the Scholastic Book Club. But I still have my Helen Keller book, and maybe when I'm stitching on it, I will show it to you someday. Not that it's that remarkable, but I know some of you would enjoy to see that. So it says, the best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. And this quote is attributed to Helen Keller. So that is my plan for Sampler September. I have chosen a 32 count blush linen by Swagart to stitch it on, and the DMC threads look like this. Oh, aren't they pretty? Trying to get the colour of the pink blush colour, but aren't they lovely? But I'm really looking forward to this sampler. Nice to have a new start, always. A beautiful sampler, and nice to participate in Sampler September. So that is my planned start. I do have it programmed for tomorrow. So I'm very much hoping that all my other plans go to plan tomorrow, and I'll be able to sit down for an hour or so tomorrow evening and put in a few stitches to get it up and running. So do you have plans for Sampler September? What are you going to stitch? Are you going to pick up one of your sampler whips? Are you going to start something new? Share with me and let me know, because it's always nice to know what folks are stitching and what you are working on. I have no idea if all of these plans are really possible. I did tell you this before, that this is the plans. And then the reality will go into the days over here. And sometimes the two are quite different from each other. But, you know, I think a plan is a good place to start. For me anyway, a plan is a good place to start. And it's not my job. My livelihood doesn't depend on it. So it doesn't matter. It's all for pleasure, relaxation, and frankly, therapy. So I'm looking forward to those plans and hoping that there'll be a little bit of stitchy goodness in each of my days. Before I go, I just want to share a little giveaway with you. So in anticipation of changing seasons here in the Northern Hemisphere, well, they probably change worldwide, but changing to autumn here in the Northern Hemisphere, I purchased a second kit of Autumn Harvest Collection Fall Fun, and I would like to share this with you. So it is brand new kit, it's all there. I don't know if this one has the same little issues with threads. I hope not, but I hope that, you know, I hope it won't put you off entering if you're interested, and I'm sure you'll be able to resolve any issues with the thread colours yourself from your wonderful stash of floss. So if you would like fall fun, please use the word autumn in your comment, and all the usual rules for giveaways apply. So please be over 18 so that I can ask for your mailing address. Please don't use any of the trigger words like win, giveaway, freebie, anything like that in your comment. We want to make sure that this goes to people who want to stitch it, not just people who are trying to troll for freebies. And oh yes, please like and subscribe. I forgot that one. So please like and subscribe, and if you are interested in this, use the word autumn and I will draw from the random comment picker just before my next video, which is probably in about a fortnight's time. That's all I have for you today, folks. So it has been lovely to catch up. I have enjoyed my time, and as always, I really appreciate the connection and the community that we share. I hope that in the next few weeks you will all find some time to stitch on the things that you love, and until then, stay well and stitch happy. Bye!